All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into Florida real estate law.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, so this is going to be super helpful for anyone who's maybe thinking of buying a place in Florida
Sure.
or selling a place, or even if you just want to
Understand all the crazy legal
yeah,
jargon?
exactly. So we're going to be looking at this stuff from Yankwitt Law Firm, PLLC.
They're a Florida law firm, so they definitely know what they're talking about.
Yeah, so they're going to be kind of our guides, I guess, for this deep dive.
I love that.
So, one of the first things that I noticed that I thought was interesting was all the different ways that you can own property in Florida,
Oh, yeah, it can get a little confusing.
right? Like you hear about like tenants in common and joint tenancy, and then there's even this thing called tenancy by the entirety.
Right, right.
So what's the deal with all these different types of ownership? Like why should I care which one I am? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it's a good question because it can really make a difference, especially when you're talking about maybe multiple people owning a property together,
Right, yeah.
like a couple or family or friends going in on a vacation home or something.
Yeah.
So let's break it down a little bit like tenants in common. Think of it like you're sharing a pizza with your friends.
Okay.
Each of you has your own slice, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can eat it, you can save it. You don't even give it to somebody else,
Right.
and you can leave it to someone in your will.
Okay.
That's what tenants in common is like. You have your share of the property, and you have complete control over it.
Okay.
Now, joint tenancy is a little different.
Okay.
This is where it's more like you and your friends are all sharing the whole pizza together.
Okay.
So if one of you decides they don't want pizza anymore or something happens, their share automatically gets split up between the rest of the group.
Oh, so it's like automatic inheritance almost.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's no need for a will or probate or anything like that. The ownership just automatically transfers to the surviving joint tenants.
Okay, and what about this tenancy by the entirety thing? What is that?
That's kind of like joint tenancy, but with extra protection, and it's specifically for married couples.
Okay.
So with tenancy by the entirety, it basically shields the property from creditors of just one spouse.
Oh,
So let's say one spouse gets into some financial trouble.
right.
Their creditors can't go after the house because the other spouse's interest is protected.
So it's like a way to protect her home from like unforeseen circumstances.
Exactly, yeah. It provides that extra layer of security for married couples.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. The source also mentioned these quitclaim deeds.
Oh, yeah, this can be tricky.
Right, like what's the deal with those?
So a quitclaim deed is basically a way to transfer ownership of a property quickly and easily.
Okay.
But there's a catch with a quitclaim deed. You're not really making any guarantees about the property itself.
Okay.
You're just saying, hey, whatever interest I have in this property, I'm giving it to you.
Okay.
So it might seem like a simple way to add someone as a joint owner. Like let's say you want to help a friend or family member get on the property ladder.
Right.
You could use a quitclaim deed to add them as a joint owner, but you got to be careful.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, let's say that friend has some hidden debts or legal issues.
Oh,
Now their creditors could potentially come after the property because their name is on the deed.
oh wow, that's a good point.
Yeah, so quitclaim deeds can be useful in certain situations, but you really need to understand the risks before you use one.
Yeah, you don't want to just like jump into that without like knowing all the ins and outs.
Exactly.
So speaking of different ways to like own and share property, what about condos and co-ops?
Oh, yeah, that's another big one that people get confused about all the time.
Yeah, because I feel like I always hear those terms, but I don't really know like what the difference actually is.
Right. So with a condo, you're actually buying your individual unit. It's kind of like owning a house. You have your own little piece of the property.
Right.
And then you also have shared ownership of common areas like the pool or the gym or the partner lot.
Right. Right.
But with a co-op, it's a little different.
Okay.
With a co-op, you're actually buying shares in a corporation that owns the entire building.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you don't actually own your unit outright. You're just leasing it from the corporation.
Interesting.
But you do get a say in how the building is run because you're a shareholder.
So it's like you're a tenant, but you also have some ownership in the building itself.
Exactly, yeah. It's kind of a hybrid situation.
That's interesting. Okay. Another thing that I noticed that the source kept mentioning was like the importance of recording deeds.
Oh, yeah, that's super important.
Yeah, like I always thought that was just like a formality, like you sign the papers and then you just like file them away somewhere.
Right. It might seem like a bureaucratic thing, but it's actually crucial.
So why is it so important?
Well, recording your deed is basically like shouting your ownership from the rooftops.
Okay.
It's public record that you are the rightful owner of that property,
Right.
and that protects you from any fraudulent claims or disputes down the line.
So it's like a way to make sure that everyone knows that this is your property.
Exactly, and especially in a hot market like Florida where properties are changing hands all the time,
Right.
it's really important to have that official record.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about taxes because, Can't forget about taxes.
Right. Taxes are always a part of the equation.
So are there any like special tax rules or breaks or anything like that in Florida that people should know about?
Yeah, actually, there are a few things. So Florida has something called the homestead exemption,
Okay.
and this can actually reduce your property taxes if you make the property your primary residence.
Oh, so if you're actually living in the property yourself, you can save some money on those taxes.
Exactly, yeah. It's a nice little perk for homeowners.
Yeah, that's good to know. What about like capital gains taxes?
So if you've lived in your home for at least 2 of the past 5 years,
Okay.
you might qualify for a capital gains exclusion when you sell.
What does that mean?
It means you could potentially save thousands of dollars in taxes
Oh, wow.
because you won't have to pay taxes on the profit you made from selling your home.
So that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it can be a huge benefit for homeowners.
Okay, cool. So I think we've covered like a lot of the main points about Florida real estate law.
Yeah, I think we hit the highlights.
But before we wrap up, I just want to mention that Yankwitt Law Firm, they don't just handle real estate stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They do a whole range of legal
Yeah,
services.
they do like bankruptcy, business contracts, divorce, immigration,
Mediation.
wills, trusts, probate, like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, pretty much anything you can think of, they've got you covered.
Right. So if you're dealing with any kind of legal issue in Florida, they're definitely a good resource to check out.
Absolutely. And I think this just highlights the fact that real estate transactions, they can be pretty complex.
Oh, yeah.
And the laws can vary a lot from state to state.
Right.
So whether you're buying, selling, or even just have a general legal question,
Yeah.
it's always best to consult with a qualified professional like the folks at Yankwitt.
Yeah, because you don't want to like mess around with legal stuff. You know, you want to make sure you're doing everything right.
Exactly. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
All right. So I think that wraps up our deep dive into Florida real estate law.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah. Hopefully this was helpful for everyone out there and give you a better understanding of how things work in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, and even if you're not planning to buy or sell property anytime soon,
Right.
just having a basic understanding of real estate law can really empower you to make informed decisions about your home.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's your biggest investment. You know?
Absolutely. So it's worth knowing your rights and responsibilities.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.